1800 hours Pakistan Standard Time. Assalamu alaikum. This is Radio Pakistan. The news read by Daman Zaman. The headlines. The Prime Minister says provision of cash assistance to the poor deserving families under the SR's emergency cash program will begin from tomorrow. Talking to media persons about the prevailing coronavirus situation in Islamabad today, Imran Khan urged the opposition leaders, parliamentarians and the civil society to support the government in its endeavours to steer Pakistan out of COVID-19 pandemic. China has announced to provide financial, medical and technical support to Pakistan in the fight against coronavirus. In a telephonic conversation with his Malaysian counterpart, the foreign minister says international community will have to perform an effective role to save 8 million Kashmiris from the Indian oppression. In occupied Kashmir, senior APHC leader and Tehreek-e-Hurriyat Jammu and Kashmir chairman has called upon the United Nations Secretary General to appoint a special representative to explore a viable solution to the festering Kashmir dispute. The number of people infected from coronavirus across the world has reached 1,444,822, while the death toll has risen to 83,109. Shab-e Barat, the night of blessings and forgiveness, will be observed tonight with solemnity. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Imran Khan says provision of cash assistance to the poor deserving families under the SR's emergency cash program will begin from tomorrow. Talking to media persons about the prevailing coronavirus situation in Islamabad this evening, he assured the distribution of funds to the deserving families will be totally merit-based, transparent and non-political what may come. He said the process of awarding cash worth 144 billion rupees to 12 million deserving families will be completed within the next 2.5 weeks. He urged the citizens to understand the gravity of the coronavirus situation and demonstrate responsibility by adopting all necessary precautionary measures to contain the virus. The Prime Minister urged the opposition leaders, parliamentarians and the civil society to support the government in its endeavours to steer Pakistan out of the prevailing situation. China has announced to provide financial, medical and technical support to Pakistan in the fight against coronavirus pandemic. The support was announced by the President and the Chief Executive Officers of Chinese companies who called on the Prime Minister Imran Khan in Islamabad today. They announced donation of 5 million rupees to the Prime Minister's COVID-19 Relief Fund. They also donated medical supplies worth 3 million rupees. That includes 30,000 masks, 195 masks and 300 protection suits to the National Disaster Management Authority. Prime Minister Imran Khan appreciated the interest of both the companies for investment in Pakistan. He also appreciated the generous gesture shown by the Chinese companies towards Pakistan's fight against COVID-19. The President, Dr. Arif Alvi, has underlined a dire need of promotion of modern research in medical science in collaboration with the private sector. He stated this while addressing a meeting of the senior doctors at the University of Health Sciences in Lahore today. He lauded the research efforts made by the scientists and professors of the University of Health Sciences. He said no country was prepared for facing the sudden outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, and we have to fight the war against this disease collectively. The President commended the efforts and sacrifices made by doctors, paramedical staff, the police, ulama and administrations for halt of the spread of coronavirus. A meeting of the National Command and Operations Centre chaired by the Minister for Planning Asad Umar was held in Islamabad today to discuss the future course of action against coronavirus. The meeting discussed digital tracking and tracing mechanism for identification of hotspots, clusters to isolate targeted areas, containment efforts in the affected areas, supply chain support, and enhancing testing capacity from the present 6,000 per day to 20,000 per day. The meeting also discussed the youth's participation in relief efforts and the SR's program through which 150 billion rupees would be disbursed among the deserving families. The Speaker National Assembly, Asad Kassar, has appealed to the religious scholars of all schools of thought to cooperate with the government in containing the spread of coronavirus. Addressing a news conference in Islamabad today, he said, "We are in contact with the delegations of Tablighi Jamaat and those representing Zairins to address their problems on priority basis." The Speaker said, "We will work on war footings to bring back the stranded Pakistanis abroad, including Zairin." Asad Kassar said precautionary measures need to be taken to defeat this pandemic. This is Radio Pakistan. The Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi says the international community will have to perform an effective role to save 8 million Kashmiris from the Indian oppression. In a telephonic conversation with his Malaysian counterpart Hishamuddin Hussain today, he said unarmed Kashmiris have been facing the worst curfew for the last 8 months. The minister said now, as the world is focused to deal with coronavirus pandemic, India is bent upon changing the demography in occupied Kashmir by amending rules and regulations regarding domicile, which is violation of the United Nations resolutions. The two foreign ministers also exchanged views regarding spread of coronavirus pandemic and the efforts being made to contain it. The Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi also telephoned his Singapore counterpart, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, to discuss the spread of coronavirus pandemic and measures to contain it. He appreciated the steps taken by the Singapore government to check the spread of coronavirus as commendable. He also informed his Singaporean counterpart about the efforts being made by Pakistan government to deal with the situation. The foreign minister said Pakistan is trying to benefit from Singapore's successful experience of launching mobile app Trace Together to contain the spread of coronavirus. The two ministers agreed to stay closely engaged on all issues of common interest. In occupied Kashmir, senior APHC leader and Tehreek-e-Hurriyat Jammu and Kashmir chairman Mohammad Ashraf Sehrai has called upon the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres to appoint a special representative to explore a viable solution to the festering Kashmir dispute. In a statement, Mohammad Ashraf Sehrai, while paying tributes to the Kashmiri martyrs, said every day innocent Kashmiris were getting killed due to the unresolved Kashmir conflict. He emphasized that the Kashmiris had for years been writing in blood that they want Azadi to self-determine their destiny. Hurriyat leader Javed Ahmed Mir and Jammu and Kashmir Students and Youth Forum, in their separate statements, said India was pursuing the Israeli policies to perpetuate its illegal occupation over Jammu and Kashmir. Meanwhile, the Indian troops, in their fresh act of state terrorism, martyred one Kashmiri youth in Sopore town of Baramulla district today. The number of people infected from coronavirus across the world has reached 1,444,822, while the death toll has risen to 83,109. According to Johns Hopkins University of the United States, the death toll in the United States has risen to 12,857, while the number of infected people has crossed 400,549. In Spain, the death toll has risen to 14,555, whereas over 146,690 have been infected by the virus. In Italy, the death toll reached 17,127, while over 135,586 have been infected from the pandemic. In France, the death toll reached 10,328, while 109,069 have been infected from the virus. Shab-e-Barat, the night of blessings and forgiveness, will be observed tonight with solemnity. Traditionally, large numbers of faithful thronged the mosques to offer special prayers and nawafils during the whole night under normal conditions. However, due to the situation arising out of coronavirus, the people this time around the world will spend the night at homes offering prayers and seeking blessings of the Almighty Allah. And finally, the weather. Mainly dry weather is likely to prevail in most parts of the country during the next 24 hours. However, rain, thunderstorm with hailstorm is expected in Islamabad, Upper Punjab, Upper Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and Kashmir. And that is the end of this news bulletin. For more news and analyses, log on to our website radio.gov.pk, and you can also watch the live video streaming of our bulletins on the link facebook.com/Radio Pakistan News Official.